I had a Hot Pocket today.
Did you? What actually is one of those? I've never actually had one.
It's like bread, but there's like meat and cheese in the middle.
That sounds like
and you put it in the microwave, and then you just kind of eat it.
The DreamSMP is such a fascinating world with questionable writing, and you know my curiously hyper brain just has to figure it out. So in this video, I present my theories on the DreamSMP's afterlife and the phenomenon that is Ghostbur. My name is Macaroni and I am a scum.
I open up a book, put page to feather.
Let's start with Tommy's stream. We've all seen it, we all loved it, but did we all understand it? No. In summary, Dream resurrected Wilbur and everything goes just how we expected. But the reason I'm making this video is for one small detail that threw me off completely, and I couldn't stop thinking about it.
A desaturated me came rolling into town, came rolling into my limbo. He's in my limbo.
Why didn't Ghostbur and Wilbur fuse? He has his memories for sure, but it's implied that Ghostbur took Wilbur's place in limbo. So what exactly is Ghostbur? He can't possibly be a ghost because ghosts are remnants of dead people, and Wilbur is very much alive. Plus, he can interact with the world. It doesn't make sense, unless he's simply not a ghost, but something else. Something much more complicated. Now, I'm not gonna lie, trying to explain the afterlife within the confines of our simple universe is hard enough as it is. Imagine what it's like trying to explain the afterlife in a world where a man falls in love with a fish and God himself has a crush on a sleepy human. Cutting the crap, I've been working on something called the splitting theory, and here's how it goes. When you lose all 3 canon lives on the SMP, your soul is split into 2s. Your memories get sent to your personal limbo, whilst the personification of your attachments gets left behind in the overworld. And that's exactly what I think Ghostbur is. Wilbur's past attachments personified. The idea of attachments and power have been a reoccurring theme in the DreamSMP. It's there from the longest arcs down to the smallest ones. Dream says it himself that attachment makes people weak. It's how their world is and will always be. You must be wondering why I think this. How did I come up with this oddly specific theory? Well, I hate to get all sentimental, but do you have a better explanation? Tell me, if you were to extract Wilbur of everything that makes him lovable, his kindness, humanity, wholesomeness, and care, what are you left with? Someone who's extremely smart, manipulative, and careless. You can't tell me that Wilbur is not all those things I've listed just now. And in all seriousness, I haven't been able to find a single theory that I'm satisfied with. There are so many contradictions and hidden details that don't fit, and it just doesn't seem right to me. But most importantly, there's a pattern or formula, so let me explain.
I write about the things I can remember.
We have never gotten a second ghost before, but the closest thing we do have is Tommy's death. And could you guess how he described dying?
Death was, I felt like my body was taken apart and put back together again, and then put back apart again here. I felt stretched, man.
This clip is so bothersome to me. Out of all the ways he could have worded it, excruciating, numb, psychedelic, he chose being torn apart? Why? A lot of you might also be wondering why Tommy didn't receive a ghost arc, and to that I simply say, Tommy hasn't been dead for as long as Wilbur has. It took Ghostbur roughly a week to manifest after Wilbur's death, whereas Tommy has only been dead for 3 days. 1 month and a half if you also consider that time works differently in the afterlife. Plus, they died very different deaths. Wilbur was killed by someone he loves, while Tommy was killed by someone he hated. Wilbur's death was a sweet releasing mercy kill, but Tommy's was brutal and unprecedented. This is also somewhat of a mini-theory with a few plot holes, but how can we be sure that we've never seen Ghostbur? That the Tommy we are seeing right now is not the physical representation of his attachments. Think about it. Ghostbur is Wilbur's polar opposite in personality, and before Tommy died, he was reckless, brave, and rude, and what is he now that he's dead? He's become more cautious, shaken, and kind towards Ranboo and Tubbo. You could easily dismiss this headcanon by saying he's more appreciative of his friends now that he knows what it's like being without them, but it's still a scarily fun thing to think about. Okay, but how does this concept apply to J-Schlatt? He's been dead for just as long as Wilbur, so he must have this attachment ghost, right? Well, the thing is, Schlatt doesn't have any attachments. His relationship with his entire cabinet is completely negative. Connor doesn't technically count because he joined after Schlatt died. And can you look me in the eyes while saying he cared for Manberg with a straight face? No, that's what I thought. He even says it himself that he has bad memories of the place.
I've also got Big Man tatted on my chest.
You got that tattoo? Well, how long ago?
No looking, ladies. I have a also just this fucking bad memories on the bottom left. We don't like to talk about it.
Crinkling yellow pages, silent drifting leaves.
Glatt, unlike Wilbur, is not chained by bonds that restrict him only to the afterlife. Therefore, it makes him accessible by the living and the dead, being able to switch between the planes, you can say. This is supported by the fact that he's weak to rain, just like Ghostbur.
You do?
I walk upstairs and then my skin starts falling off.
And don't forget, he died a very natural death. This could possibly explain why his limbo is physically located in the overworld, all while being able to communicate with Wilbur, Tommy, and Mexican Dream, which I imagine would look something like this.
People on this earth with no taste.
Quackity, I want to have sex with you.
Oh, speaking of Mexican Dream, I know he's not really relevant in the lore as well as Schlatt, but since this video is about attachments, I imagine his ghost is on Exile Island where he died, just waiting for Mamacita. Do whatever you want with that information. You could make art, or you could make fun of me. I just want to talk about the afterlife itself for a second because of how interesting it is to me. Wilbur said that limbo is perceived differently for each person, which I think is the coolest thing ever. It's like your very own, customizable version of hell. And I say hell because each limbo ties into each person's fears or how they died. Tommy's was a painfully colorless abyss because he's claustrophobic and died brutally in a dark little box. Twice. Wilbur's limbo is a train platform because the Jubilee line is a song about... yeah. I'd also like to note that waiting for a commute that will never come is already hell in of itself. Trust me, I know. Schlatt's is a gym because, I don't know, he's an unhealthy old man. Mexican Dreams is a restaurant because Quackity said so and everything Quackity tweets must be true.
The flapping of a large flag carried laughter in the breeze.
There may not be any purpose in this video whatsoever. It's completely irrational to try to make sense of death in a silly Minecraft roleplay server. And it doesn't add to anything, but while I was writing this script, I was reminded of a story I had to read in the 7th grade I'm sure many have heard of. The story starts with an old king, sick on his deathbed beside his 4 wives. He asked his favorite wife, the 4th wife, who was doused in diamond jewelry and elegant clothing, if she would follow him to the afterlife, but she declined. He asked his 3rd wife, but she declined and said she would remarry after his death. He asked his 2nd wife, but she declined as well, saying she would prepare and attend his funeral. Suddenly, his first and most neglected wife says to him, "I will leave with you and follow you wherever you go, even if it's to the afterlife." This whole story is a metaphor for how we live our lives. The 4th wife represents our bodies. Although we style ourselves in clothes, none of it matters when we die. The 3rd wife represents our material possessions. We praise our items, but after death, all that goes on to the next owners. The 2nd wife represents our loved ones, who are always in our favor but can't follow us to the afterlife. Our 1st wife represents our soul. Sometimes we refuse to take care of ourselves, but whether we like it or not, it's the only thing that can go with us beyond life. The moral of the story is to cherish everything around us and to take care of ourselves more often, because when we die, we leave our attachments here on Earth.
Phantom feelings of a good past tingle in my skin.
Wilbur's death was an attempt to let everything go. He died a carefree man knowing that nothing really matters, and even now, that's what makes him such a dangerous villain. His cares and attachments are literally and figuratively dead. Wilbur even resents his bonds, always referring to Ghostbur as some kind of freak accident.
Months and that.
Where's Ghostbur? Where's Ghostbur?
I don't know. I don't know where that crazy son of a bitch has gone.
There's also this line, "I sowed the seeds of peace, and yet I'm the one who pays for war." This sticks out like a sore thumb, and works when you apply my probably biased theory. It was because of Wilbur's attachments that he fought for peace in the Manberg. His attachments to his country and friends allowed him to see the value in them, pushing him to defend them. But those same friendships had to be set aside and ignored during the Poctopia arc in order to win the war. Ghostbur is very much Wilbur's attachments, his ability to love and care as a whole. The bonds we have with people, places, and even material things is what makes us human. They're the ultimate connection we have with the world, and without them to remember or represent us, then we might as well have never existed. And when that bond with the world is broken, then what's left? When you're no longer alive, then you're probably dead.
I can feel a heartbeat somewhere within.
So, there you have it, ladies. Wilbur, a manipulative, destruction-seeking character with no attachments. Ghostbur being a mysterious entity that's able to care and doesn't understand people. Wait a minute. Why does this sound so damn familiar? Is it possible that this theory could explain Dream's god complex and his relationship with DreamXD? But hey, that's just a theory, a DreamSMP theory. Thanks for watching.
Those two boys with lights in their eyes, thriving with